Good morning everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today and for standing with the Homelessness Project Scotland and the Scottish Tenants Organisation, of which I'm a founding member of the Reboot, and I'm really proud of the work they're doing. I want to talk today mostly about women and the impact of homelessness on women. I think we often think that homelessness is a male problem. You know, we walk around the streets and we see men begging or lying in doorways, etc. And that's an absolute tragedy. But homelessness affects women just as much, maybe more, because so much of it is hidden. 48% of homelessness applications have a woman's name. A lot of those women have children. And if women are escaping domestic violence, which 28% of them are when they go into homelessness situations, they're really vulnerable. Many women who are homeless will never end up as statistics. We don't even know how many women there are in homelessness in Scotland. And that's because they're not going to necessarily declare themselves homeless. They're not going to go through the shelter process. There's far too much fear of what can happen if you end up in a shelter or in the homelessness system. That vulnerability of not knowing who else is in the building with you, maybe with your children. So many women who are in insecure housing and vulnerable are living in unsafe situations. They're very vulnerable to ending up in a domestic violence situation. Now they could be fleeing one already and it could be a cycle for them, same and their children. And many women for the first time in their lives will start to experience domestic violence because they've become homeless and they've had to trust a male to live with who is predatory, who are often seeking out vulnerable women, and those women are vulnerable to all kinds of exploitation. But I want to focus today on one very specific thing that we don't really talk about, only sort of taboo subjects. So we as the Scottish Tenants Organisation have recently started looking into sex for rent as a way that some women are living, more and more women than we realise. So I'd like to thank Laura McEwen for having raised this issue with the Tenants Organisation in the first place, and putting it on the agenda, because there are so many women, unseen women, sometimes really young, sometimes, well, at least just leaving school, sometimes younger, who are living with males who are forcing them to perform sexual favours in exchange for a roof over their head. Now, if you're a woman, you might think, gosh, no one would ever do that, would they? If you're a woman, you would maybe rather have the devil you know in your house than a bunch of devils you don't know in the streets. You're not going to go out in the street. So many women will find themselves trapped in this situation where it's domestic abuse, quite possibly sexual abuse. Now, at the moment, I'm investigating a report I've had of a woman in homelessness accommodation in the west of Scotland. I'm not going to specify where because of the ongoing investigation, but it's through a local authority that she's in this homelessness accommodation, who for several weeks now has been in a situation where the manager has said, you know, I will make up things about you, I will get you put out, unless you do things for me. And she's so afraid of being put out that that's now been going on for several weeks that she's been doing that. And I don't think that's an isolated case. The more I look into it, the more I think it's not just women in the private end of the sector who have found a man who will take them in, give them an accommodation, then maybe in their children as well. But it's women who are in local authority official homelessness provision who are being targeted in this way and who are being exploited in this way. So the Scottish Tenants Organisation is going to be looking more and more into this, and we're going to be trying to push for legislation to make it really difficult to do this to women, to vulnerable women. And to that end, we'll be exploring opportunities for the Scottish Government to do that. So I would encourage everybody who may know something about these patterns to either let the Scottish Tenants Organisation know, let your elected officials know, let the police know. We need to break the silence around it, and we need to be very, very vigilant, because this is happening throughout Scotland. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.